claims that it's purging immigrant recruits from the U.S. Armed Forces after what it calls a misleading report by the Associated Press, alleging immigrants who signed up to serve in the Army in exchange for future citizenship are being quietly discharged. National security correspondent Jennifer Griffin reports tonight from the Pentagon.
Dana, this military recruiting program, which provided a fast track to American citizenship, was set up after 9/11 by President Bush when the military needed immigrants with certain special language skills, especially after the surge into Iraq and Afghanistan. It was known by its acronym, MAVNI. Since then, 110,000 immigrants hoping to serve in the U.S. military have become naturalized citizens through the program, which was suspended last September amidst concerns that the Defense Department could not properly vet those who were volunteering for basic training with the promise of fast-track citizenship. The AP story quotes a retired U.S. Army colonel who helped set up the program. She has since become an immigration lawyer and says that about 40 recruits who were hoping to obtain naturalization had been abruptly dismissed. A senior U.S. defense official tells Fox that, in fact, there is no new policy when it comes to these recruits, but that the 40 in question had issues with their security clearances. Fox has learned that most of those in question were from China, Pakistan, and Iran. These were the hardest cases, one U.S. official told Fox. According to statistics provided by the U.S. military, 5,000 immigrants were recruited into the program in 2016, and though it is currently suspended, there are 10,000 currently serving. A statement from the U.S. Army explains why some have recently been discharged. Quote, any recruit who receives an unfavorable security screening is deemed unsuitable for military service and is administratively discharged. Bottom line, Dana, if you can't pass the background check, you are not getting into the U.S. military. Both Republicans and Democrats on the Armed Services Committees have expressed concerns in the past about the program, which is currently under review by the Defense Department. Dana?
All right, thank you, Jennifer. And here now with more on this is Pete Hegseth. He's an Iraq and Afghanistan combat war veteran and co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend, so you'll see him this weekend. And Jose Aristimuño, he's former DNC Deputy Press Secretary and founder of Now Strategies, LLC. Pete, I just want to go to you first. I'm assuming that when you were serving in the armed forces that you did serve with some immigrants who had become citizens through a program in order to serve the country, and they got through the system because they could pass it.
Absolutely. No better merit-based system than an immigrant here legally who joins the military for a pathway to citizenship. Everyone loves it. Anyone who's served under that program believes in it. But this AP headline could not be more deceptive. It's basically saying the Trump administration is pushing out immigrants because they don't want them in the military. Poorly sourced, terrible headline. And of course, as the Pentagon has pointed out today, that's not what's happening at all. There's basic security clearance protocols that have to happen, most of which, by the way, are not affecting Hispanics south of the border. This is of any country that's coming in. And as a result, you would want our military to make sure there's no divided allegiance or there's no problems on a security clearance. That's what they're doing. They've pushed back very strongly, and they're right to do so.
Jose, after more clarity was brought to light today on this story, it made a lot more sense. Your thoughts?
Look, I want to first of all, I want to say that, we had to recognize that immigrants have been serving in the armed forces in our country from the very beginning of its founding. So that's important. And look, I don't necessarily believe everything that the Pentagon is saying, especially coming out from this administration. We ought to remember that President Trump from the very beginning said that immigrants were gangsters, they were rapists. Now, he's talking about illegals. Away DACA. He took away DACA. He took away DACA for thousands
but
and
on this program
of
in
kids.
particular.
And so now it's no surprise to me that now this is happening. It's absurd, it's shameful. That I do believe that the reports are real, even though, again, the Pentagon, of course, they're going to say that this is for security reasons. There's been an increment of immigrants who are trying to serve this country.
What evidence do you have besides the AP report for that charge? That's a big charge. You're basically saying the Pentagon is being race-based or having is not following the right protocol in pushing people out.
With all due respect, is because this administration from day one has been trying to do everything in their power to literally go after immigrants, including
James Mattis,
separating families.
all the guys at the Pentagon that I serve with, they're just secret racists emboldened by Trump.
And Jose, I'll give you. I just want one more point on this. I mean, really, the military has been one of the places where you could have the most diversity, where everybody does have to earn it on merit. And as Jennifer Griffin reported, This is not about Hispanic immigrants. This was about, she said the bulk of the 40 came from China, Pakistan, and Iran. I mean, that just seems to me to be a lot more understandable than the accusation that you're suggesting.
Well, I'm not saying this is against Latino immigrants. I'm saying this is against immigrants as a whole. I mean, part of the reasoning that I've been hearing and I've been seeing and reading is that the reason why these people are being discharged is because they had family who lived abroad. I mean, everybody has family who lives abroad. Also,
well,
you have family that live in other countries. All of a sudden, it's a security risk. Give me a break.
Well, these are not guys that have served 3, 4, 5 years. These are folks that are about to go to basic training. They're trying to pass a basic background check, and they don't pass it. And, you know, you're going to have some high standards for that.
That's right. I want to get to another topic, though, because today the administration did have to ask the court for a longer period of time in order to deal with the reunification judgment that the judge in San Diego came forward with. And the Health and Human Services Secretary spoke about that. Here's Alex Azar.
We're doing DNA testing on everybody who claims to be the parent of one of our children to confirm that. We check birth certificates. We have surged 230 HHS people and contractors out to ICE facilities to sit with the parents to get information to prove suitability and parentage of them to work through this process, because what we care about is the kids' welfare.
And I think that is a concern shared by everyone. Pete, I do think if you have to surge 230 HHS people and employees in order to go and help deal with this, the planning on the front end of this was not very good.
Yeah, I mean, clearly there's a backlog here that should have been anticipated at some level. So a zero-tolerance policy has created unintended consequences in this case. But we also see news reports in the last couple of days under the previous administration or other administrations where kids were handed back to mules unintentionally being trafficked because not enough protocols are in place. So I'm at least grateful for the fact that in this instance, even if it's taking a little bit longer, we're making sure these are parents or relatives the kids are being given back to in a very humane way.
Jose, do you support the use of the DNA test in order to make sure that these children are going back to the actual parent?
Look, I don't know if it's necessary or not. I want these children to be secure, and I want them to be reunified with their parents, of course. But look, the reality of the matter is that President Trump started this whole crisis. We shouldn't even be discussing this in the first place. This is something that was created by the president himself. We still have zero tolerance policy in place. So, you know, perhaps now we're trying to obviously fix the problem. It's shameful because, you know what's going to happen now, Dana, is that a lot of these parents who are supposed to be reunified with these children are probably already deported. So once these children are out of the detention centers, where are they going to go? It's incredible and it's horrible.
One correction I would go with, the crisis started with open borders and an inability to defend that border, and as a result, we've got a mess that this president is trying to address.
Right.
I agree with you that we have a mess. That's why we got to pass comprehensive immigration reform. That's the solution.
We can all agree on that.